expenses, certifications will be revenues. And I'll go through the funds. I'll talk about the fund, and then I'll talk about what I'm requesting. So for the general fund, which is the main account we use for all of our operating expenses, our personnel, and most of the purchases we do on a day-to-day basis, we initially had a 9.834055 appropriation budget, which would be the budget, our expense budget. We are requesting additional $582,950.80. The detail as is shown in that particular page I gave you. The new appropriation in the new budget would be for $10,417,005.80. So what I am requesting is amendment number 1 for an additional $582,950.80. You would like to approve that change?
I would just like to state for the record that although this is my first board meeting, I did spend a few hours with Michelle to get acclimated to the budget so that I had some pre-knowledge and I wasn't just seeing this for the first time. So I have reviewed a lot of the questions that I had ahead of time to get familiarized with this budget. And I would so move to accept that.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next account.
Now speaking to the certification or the revenue side of the same fund, the general fund, this would be the revenue we're expecting to bring in for the year. The current budget in place, this would include what we had passed in July, as well as the change that the auditor's office made in the beginning of January here. The current certifications are $6,713,995. We are actually going to request a decertification or a reduction in certifications of $27,620. And that would leave our new certification request at $6,686,375. So this request is for a decertification of $27,620.
I'll make the motion to accept that.
Second.
We have a motion, a second by Mr. Gertz. Call the vote, Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you.
And moving back to the appropriation side for the land improvement fund, this is most of where the projects come out of. Matt works heavily in this department, out of this particular fund for any projects that you see ongoing. Appropriations in July were included $2,446,500. We are increasing this particular fund by $1,050,000. The new appropriation balance will be $3,496,500. I should note that most of that will be in a $1 million transfer, and that will be for land acquisition. So we are requesting an increase of appropriations of $1,050,000.
Also moved. I'll second.
A motion, second by Mr. Barker. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now for the certification revenue side of the same fund, the land improvement fund, we initially had revenue estimated at $3,369,000. We are decreasing this particular fund at $2,290,000, leaving it at $1,079,000. The reason for this is when we initially went before the board, we had put the certifications for the new fund, the fund that we are calling the capital projects and land acquisition, where we are moving some of our funds to a new fund into this particular fund because we had not established the other fund yet. We have, in the end of December, established that fund. Now we can move it in 2016. So we're decertifying in this fund and we're going to put it in the appropriate fund. So we are requesting a decertification and land improvement of $2,290,000 in land improvement. You will see that increase at a later fund.
I'll make the motion to accept that.
I'll second it.
All right. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
There were no certification or appropriation changes in the retirement reserve fund. And the last fund is called the Capital Projects and Acquisition Fund. That fund it currently has $0 in certifications or appropriations. The only request we'll be making is an increase in certifications. That increase will be $2,850,000. So I will need a request for an increase in certifications of $2,850,000.
I so move.
I second.
I yield to Mr.
Mr. Gertz,
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore,
Yes.
and Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Thank you.
And with that, you have approved what we like to call our amended budget.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Michelle, next up is a memo from Michelle about the Wall That Heals. The Wall That Heals is a traveling Vietnam Veterans Memorial that will be coming to Geauga Park District in Geauga County. We are the only site in Ohio this year, so we're pretty excited about that. But with that, comes some compliance areas, if you will, that do not line up with our rules and regulations. So we're asking the board to allow a time period where these rules and regulations would not apply, and they are listed there for you. So I'm going to open up the floor for any discussion or any questions.
I read through this and I'm so honored that we are given this opportunity to have this here. In regards to the items that you're requesting that we adjust per our bylaws, the only area of concern that I have is the request is from September 8th to the 11th. I would ask that we do it through the 6th to the 12th, because in the event that we overlap with setup and takedown, I believe they're coming in on the 6th and they won't be removed into the 12th. I don't want to have any conflicts that we weren't in the date range that we approved.
I would absolutely be open to that.
Good point.
Thank you.
I'm very excited about this. I had two brothers that served in Vietnam, so it's a great thing for our county to have this.
It is the first time it is ever coming to Geauga County.
Well, it's going to be good for our park too, because, being an old Marine myself, I certainly would not vote against this. This is a great thing to be brought to our park for the exposition of the names. I'm sure there are going to be relatives on that they're going to come up to, and it's a great thing. It was a terrible war.
We've already partnered with the Geauga Veteran Services, and they have agreed to pay the cost for the wall itself. They also have agreed to man the wall 24 hours a day with veterans. As part of our application package, we wanted to offer something unique in the way that we would be memorizing and absolutely not losing the fact that this Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall is in memory of the veterans. My father's a veteran himself, and not losing the fact that what we have to offer for this wall in this great location here at Big Creek Park is a park district and memory, and people could go on solitude walks, and we could offer the walks with the little candle lights, and we have nature that after they're done, they may be able to, with their family, go and enjoy something else and memorize as they walk through Geauga Park. So we wanted to be able to provide a connection with Geauga Park and with the Vietnam Wall together. And they were very pleased with what our package had to offer in it. And they actually moved somebody else out of the September 11th date so that we could get it. So that's what we're working on now, is making sure that we not only memorize the Vietnam Veteran Memorial Wall, but we also appreciate Geauga Park District in doing this, and we don't lose sight of that as well.
Well, and I also noticed we're the only Ohio staff, right?
The only Ohio
The
staff.
only Ohio staff.
Yes.
Which is an honor.
Yes, in fact, it will be going to the Lyndon B. Johnson Presidential Library. It has quite a big, I have the list here, quite a big list for 2016, and before us and after us, it is, let's see, before us, it's in Delaware, and after us, it's in Michigan. So the tours the entire nation. It comes with a traveling museum, and it has a museum piece, and it also has a school aspect. And I've already spoken with the Berkshire superintendent, and we will be speaking with all of the schools and getting them involved in bringing out the schools, because there is a school aspect as well for all schools to come and learn about this. And we'll have school tours as well going on constantly throughout the day. So it will be big.
I'd just like to add, one of the things we see with special events like this, and Fall Fest, Frozen Fest, and the reason we're so excited about this, it exposes people, and it exposes Geauga County and the Northeast Ohioans to our parks. We had people show up at Fall Fest at Swan Creek Reservation, and they didn't even know that park was there, and that park's been there since the late 1970s and 1980s. So it's a way to expose people to our parks, to nature, to the habitats and ecosystems. So we're excited to provide this opportunity. Thank you, Michelle, for all your hard work in getting it here, and we're excited about it. So we're simply asking that you, if there is no further discussion, that you approve the compliance outside of our rules and regulations for that time period, September 6th through September 12th.
Also move that we accept that.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gertz,
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore,
Yes.
and Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to commissioners' time. We have a couple little things that came in after the board package. The first is we ask at the January board meeting every year to reciprocate with the 2016 IRS mileage reimbursement rate. This year it is 54 cents per mile for employees to use at privately owned vehicles. We don't get a lot of requests to be reimbursed, but we do get some. Sometimes, for example, human resources might have to run somewhere in their own vehicle, and we do reimburse at the IRS mileage reimbursement rate. The County Commissioner's Office also approved that rate for this year, so we're asking you to reciprocate with that rate. Once again, it's 54 cents a mile. And we would request a motion. I'll ask if there's any discussion first, but we would request a motion. That way we can go ahead and send that over to the county auditor's office, approval of this.
And what do you see typically in this area that's, would fall under the 54 cents?
As far as how many people?
Reimbursement, how many, yeah.
Yeah. Boy, Michelle, you wanna take a guess at it? Like maybe a lump sum per year or for how long?
Well,
Yeah.
A year ago, we had a lot of that
Yeah.
showed up in the balance sheet, but since we've now developed our own little carpool deal, I'm sure it must be working out, because you don't see near the reimbursements anymore. And I'm very happy with that. So we do have now, we take some of our vehicles that are basically going to be put out for trading in, and we find that if they're in good shape, they might have high miles, but we use those, and anybody can solicit them to take in town or do whatever they want with them. And they're covered under our insurance. One of the things that I objected to with people using their own cars is that some of these insurance policies will not cover them when they're doing company business. They're strictly, and that's not fair. Because then you're talking about insurance company arguing with the park board and so on. So right now, I'm real happy with the fact that John's put together a nice program with some of these older cars that, and they're not long trips, they're just in town or whatever, and we're using that, so I'm real happy with that.
And they do come up on occasion, but they're few and far between. For example, as a former operations director, every operations employee uses a park-owned vehicle. When we go to training that's close by, there's usually, as Bill said, there's a pool vehicle to take. I haven't seen one in a while, so a mileage reimbursement. I hate to put you on the spot for a number, Michelle, but it's pretty minimal, and it would show up on vouchers as the name of that employee.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
The scary part about it is that Allison's people are the ones that keep those things running, right?
They do keep them running, do a good job. Any other discussion? Would request a motion for that.
Also move.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gertz. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. To vote, Mr. Gertz,
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore,
Yes.
and Mr. Barker.
Yes.
All right.
I would like to say one thing for the record. I'm very, very well pleased with the two new members. I served very, very well, loyal. Like Mr. Barker said, common sense is one of his strong points, and I'm sure it is for Mrs. Dottore too. I'm happy to have him.
One thing that I would like to propose to the board, you know, there's been a variety of discussion, points made, and opinions about our great parks. Since I've been in the role of interim director and now the permanent executive director. And one of the things that came up last winter was the possibility of allowing snowmobiles in the parks. There are a variety of things that have come up. I personally believe that snowmobiles could be accommodated in one of our parks. So what I'm proposing to do is move forward a first-year trial offering at one park only, that is Observatory Park, on Saturdays and Sundays only from 12 to 5. It would be by permit only. I would meet with the president of one of our local snowmobile clubs in Montville. What's appealing to this and getting people involved in our parks is this local club is willing to assist with trail maintenance, even outside of snowmobile use. One thing I do want to point out are both snowmobiles and ATVs are prohibited in our rules and regulations. But one thing that is allowed in our rules and regulations is the opportunity for me as the executive director to issue special use permits. So that's how we would go about this. It would be similar to our hunting program. We would issue special use permits. There would be a disclaimer associated with that special use permit. And I'm proposing to go ahead and proceed with that program, have it up and running. If the white stuff sticks around, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, work in conjunction with park staff and management team to allow that program on a trial basis. And I know Mr. Gertz may have some opinions, but I'm proposing to proceed unless the board objects otherwise.
I have a question.
Sure.
You say as a trial basis, at the end of this season, will significant evaluations be done to determine if that's something that we keep or it benefits, pros, cons of the whole program?
We would. One of the things that I would do when I was in the operations department is I was big on after action reports for anything, whether we built a new fishing pier or it was a new program. The Shell staff has done some after action reports, so we would take this time of reflection and after action, see what the costs were associated, how much time was involved, and things of that nature. So,
I have a couple questions. Would there be an age limit on somebody operating the machines? And would they have to get certified to use the parks to do that?
I can't really speak to the certification. That's one of the things I wanted to see if you were open to it first, and then I would meet with the president of Ohio State Snowmobile Association and begin to formulate a plan for this with hopes that it would be up and running by the first Saturday in February, assuming we have winter. So.
You'll have to pardon me, but I'm going to object. This was brought up at the last meeting when two of our board members were not present. Specific objections were waived. This was not on the agenda. Now you're proposing to implement it before the next board meeting after these folks have had a chance to see what your evaluation is. This is sandbagging, and I'm very, very upset by that.
So what are you asking here from us? Are you saying that the board is required to vote on this, or are you saying?
The board is not required to vote on this.
And we are not required to vote on this for under what principles? Because it's a special use permit?
That's correct. We would issue special use permits, no more than, we would not exceed, what I'm looking at doing is working with a group of Montville Highlanders. We would not exceed any more than about 30 to 40 permits, that we'd be limited to one trail, and then we could go ahead and, there are a number of things, projects, programs, special events that we implement on a day-to-day basis. And I feel just because some people disagree with this does not necessitate a lack of action on our part. And trying this program. Mr. Buckles, you do not have the floor. You do not have the floor. I would have, Mr. Buckles.
You brought this up by surprise, and it is unfair.
Mr. Buckles.
It was specifically rejected by the survey.
Mr. Buckles, you do not have the floor. Thank you very much.
I want the record to show that I am in direct opposition to this. I've been through this before. It seems to me it's a great deal like our president limiting permits for the good people. Well, that's fine, but you know, it's not the good people you have to worry about. Because when that thing closes at midnight or whatever, you're gonna have all kind of people through there. I've had people snowmobiling on my property at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, cutting down trees to make the trails better. You can't police them. I feel sorry for the rangers if they're gonna have to do this. I am not in favor of this whatsoever, and I just want the record to know.
I would advocate. Thank you.
I know that you said you were going to speak with the president of Ohio State Snowmobiling, is
That's
that
correct.
correct? Have you had any other conversations with the programs that are offered in other counties?
We've looked at how the program is structured at Punderson State Parks, at some of the other state parks. And I believe with a permit process, some of this opposition came up when we started a hunting program for wildlife management. And there was this fear of the unknown and what may happen. We've had virtually no problems with any of our hunters, and we've been running a hunting program since 2005. So I believe we should be afforded as a staff the opportunity to implement this pilot program, so.
Mrs. Chairman, I'm requesting, just make a short statement because this was brought up, if I may.
Well, I have a couple questions of my own first, if you would let me speak, please. So what other conversations, I know that in the future you want to talk to the Ohio State Snowmobiling. What have you learned from those other counties, or would you be replicating their process, or if they have made it work or have not, you know, their downfalls, or, you know, I'm saying to adjust a program that would be right for Geauga County?
We would replicate. We have met with various members from Ohio State Snowmobilers Association, from the various snowmobile clubs in the county. We've looked at how the program is structured with Ashtabula parks and the Greenway Trail, and we would follow their lead.
And does Ashtabula currently allows it in their parks?
They do on their Greenway Trail.
On their Greenway, and have they given you any personal feedback, the pros and cons to that program? And do you know how long they've had it for?
Sorry, Brian, I'm gonna put you on the spot, but do you know how long
Estimate? Have they, is it new to them? Have they had it for several years?
Actually, when they put in their Greenway Trail, they've allowed snowmobiles on their Greenway Trail since day one.
But ballpark, let's say what, a couple years now? Less than that, more than that?
10, 12 years.
So several years. And have they relayed to you any issues or areas of concern that they would do better with the current program that they have?
They have not. In fact, they've expanded the program. They've invested in it. They've spent quite a bit of money on a groomer and a grooming vehicle, so they've expanded the program. I feel if it is permitted, regulated, our park rangers will be involved. They are directed on patrols for whether it's hunting initiatives or special events or something like snowmobiling, and I think we should try that.
And what if you do find that there is use without permit? What is the course of action if you're finding, you know, people using it that have not applied for a permit?
I don't want to speak for Ranger Department, but I will in a sense that typically it's first a verbal warning is issued with a written record of that verbal warning, followed by typically a citation. Am I correct, Dennis?
Yeah, it would depend again on the infraction. So how, you know, it'd be handled with discretion of the officer, but typically that's usually how we follow. Again, it depends on the situation, so whether or not the citation would be issued.
May I ask a question? Mr. Barker, do you have any input or questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah, why did you base it on just 40 permits? I mean, you just want to have it at limited access or for control purposes?
I firmly believe that the people that will utilize these permits are from the Monmouth Highlanders Club, and those are the families associated with that club. So.
So they would be the only ones to be getting these permits? basically.
It would be on a first come, first served, but I do think
Not
it's
like a
wise.
draw.
Correct, I think it's wise to limit it the first year as well. We don't want to put 120 permits out there.
But John, those aren't the people you're gonna have to worry about. It's the ones that are sitting up there at the beer joints waiting for things to close down and then take off.
I understand that.
I've seen that 100
That
times.
will require ranger presence, I understand that.
I have a question. The park rangers are gonna be the ones who are gonna be enforcing this. I mean, they, obviously you guys feel that this would be something that you would wanna do. I hate to put you on the spot, but.
Well, sure, I mean, if that's the way the parks would go, certainly part of our look at this would not only be, the safety aspect of it and keeping count of potential violations moving forward. We support, always, as a team, with the park system itself, and taking out any of our personal feelings. If this is what the park would decide that they would want to do, then certainly we would invest in that as well. And again, too, making sure that it's being done and done safely at all times within the parameters. So, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
That's fine. And is there gonna be a time limit that they can have operation? I mean, it's gonna start at 8 in the morning to
12 and 5,
12
just on
and 5.
Saturdays and Sundays to start.
on Saturdays and Sundays?
Yes, yeah. One of the questions came up, being we're in the snow belt, we get quite a bit of snow, is whether or not snowmobilers would tear up and down Maple Highlands Trail, particularly when we started to groom it for cross-country skiing. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, we have not seen that. And I feel this is an opportunity for families to get out in a park when there's enough snowpack and enjoy this park. And an alternative means it's accessibility to our parks. So
Would you guys have a sign, or if this were to potentially move forward, available, clearly legible for anybody entering this area to know what rights they do and don't have, and that they must be here with permit only, et cetera?
the permit will be accompanied by a map. So
But I'm saying at Observatory Park,
yes.
will there be a sign there that states? Because then nobody can say, well, I didn't know, I saw, Sammy writing on it, and I didn't know that you had to file for a permit. So, if there's something that's clearly legible that says this is for use with permit only, this,
Yeah, we're fortunate in that we have an in-house sign department, so it's all part of the process.
When damage occurs to trees or to habitat, how do we go back? How does that citation solve that problem? When somebody cuts down trees, or when somebody damages trails, or when somebody
Once again,
destroys
folks,
habitat?
I want to remind you that the purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business of the park. We appreciate your comments, we appreciate your input, but I would ask that you come back at the next meeting and provide your input. We will be,
That's
please.
I
I'm
request the floor be open for public comment.
I think there's two things here that I'm seeing, and the first one is you're telling me you don't need a vote for this. So Mr. Gertz has entered in his opinion to it.
that's
You don't
correct.
need a vote from us. So I don't really, I know that this is more of an informal, but the second thing is again, what I think everybody, whether we're for or against something, we never know what the outcome will be until you have trial and
That's
error,
correct.
right? If
That's
it
correct.
does not work out, this would never, it will not move forward, correct?
That's correct. And I'm not, and I pointed out the fact that the prohibition of ATVs and snowmobiles is in the current rules and regulations. We wouldn't want to take that out, and people would show up to the Westwoods and assume that they could ride snowmobiles. So this is a trial program that will be evaluated afterwards.
And I suspect you will give us an extremely thorough report afterwards of any citations or any issues or
That's
any
correct.
damage that was done, et cetera.
That's correct.
And will that be an unbiased report?
May I ask a question as a biologist? Mr. Oros, has natural resources management done an environmental impact statement on what this would do?
I would propose that we don't need to open up the floor to public input.
All
We're
three
trying-
of you could move to vote this down, to prohibit this. You could move and initiate a prohibition from this occurring.